Okay, so I'm filming this outside, and hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad. But I get a lot of questions about Apache arrows and Apache bows and where to find materials. And I'm taking my information from this book here, and I'll put a, let's see, I was going to put the name in the description, but it's easier if I just do this. Well, thought it was easier. Encyclopedia of Native American Bows, Arrows, and Quivers, Volume 2. Let's see, I can't read the name of the authors on that cover because of the lighting. Here we go. Steve Alele and Jim Ham. Okay. Now this is page 201, and you can see it's heavily used. Okay, so what this is a complete set. Apache bow, and the close-up of the tips of the bow, and an arrow, and some close-up of arrowheads. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here. Now, I get a lot of questions on this particular part right here, the foreshaft. What is this made of? And that's the number one question. The number two question is, what is the bow made out of? Okay. All right, so let me just go on the bow first, since that's easier. This is sinew backed, and this part here, this side is the back, so it actually bends this way. Okay, and the string ends up on this side. It's reflexed right now, what they call reflexed, which means it bends this way and this way when you string it, so it kind of looks like a gull wing shape. What I mean, it bends like this, and then the handle bends the other way. Okay. And this has got sinew on the back to protect it. And on the description here, it just says highly reflexed sinew-backed white wood. Okay. Now, in my experience, this wood is probably elm, American elm. And the way to recognize it, let's see if I can show this. This is an American elm branch that I have growing. I have some elm in my yard, and you can see how the branches are on opposite sides, and the leaves look like that. Okay, I'll try to get it to hold still. Now mine always get eaten up by bugs or some sort of parasite, so there's holes in it. Okay, but this is what the leaves look like, and that's what the stems look like. Now if you live in an area where you have like 8 different trees that look like this, one more way you can tell it's elm, and it's pretty cool, let's see if I can do this, is that the bark peels off in long strips. See if I can do this in one hand, with one hand. Okay, if you can get the bark, if the bark peels off in long strips like this, it's probably elm. Okay? And the fact that the branches grow on opposite sides makes it easier to build a bow from it, because this side has no branches and neither does the back side. So this becomes a, you know, either side can be the back of the bow depending on which way you want the branch to be, reflexed or deflexed. Okay, and of course there are much thicker branches in this. All right, that you would make the bow from a much thicker branch. Okay, now this part here is a little harder. The foreshaft, it's Phragmites cane, and I think I've got other videos on that. I know I do. I've got videos on Phragmites. And then it says hardwood foreshaft. Front of cane shaft is slotted with 2 long V's and sinew wrap to reduce diameter to fit the foreshaft. Points are from other arrows in the same set. Okay. Now they only say hardwood. Okay. But many sources call this greasewood. Okay. Which is true. However, there are at least 2 different plants that are commonly called greasewood, and they are both used for foreshafts. So that adds to the confusion. This particular branch, I believe, is a species called or a plant. Baccharis is the genus, and the species is either, sorry if I mispronounce this, Cerathoides or neglecta. Okay? Now it's Baccharis cerathoides, probably for this one because it's found in Arizona, and this plant is mainly found in Arizona as far as I know. Now the other one, neglecta, is found in Texas a lot, and they're related species. Okay, and I have examples of this to show you right here. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so I believe this is Baccharis, one of the two, Baccharis neglecta or Baccharis cerathoides. Okay, now the telltale sign on this one is, you can see how it's a little bit, the wood is kind of snaky, just like this. I don't know if you can see the snakiness of it. This is Baccharis neglecta, or what they call poverty weed in Texas. Alright, now this is actual size, and when you take the bark off, it gets thinner, of course, and it'll be this diameter. Now this stuff here, they also call greasewood. It's not really greasewood because the leaves do not have any kind of resin that you can feel it. They're not sticky, and they're long, they're elongated. Okay, these little leaves. On what they call greasewood, the leaves are shorter, thicker, and they're sticky. Okay, this one here, this Baccharis cerathoides, also called desert broom or greasewood, actually has sticky leaves. This one is the Baccharis neglecta, which, in my opinion, that's what this is here, because I haven't really seen the other type. I haven't seen cerathoides. I've only seen this neglecta. Okay, but this to me looks the same. Okay, same species here. All right. Now, there's another type of greasewood that can be used for foreshafts, and it's from the creosote tree. Okay, this is also called greasewood. These pieces of the creosote bush, and the name of it, sorry if I mispronounce this again, Laria tridentata, or greasewood, and also found in Arizona. Okay, but this is a lot more dense, a lot heavier and stronger than this stuff, but they're both called greasewood. Well, this one, the neglecta, is commonly mistaken for greasewood, but it is called that just to add to the confusion. Okay, so usually when you make foreshafts out of this stuff, out of the creosote bush, you have to split it and carve it. And this is what it looks like when you split it down and start carving it. It's very dense. It's got a very dark heartwood sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. Like this piece here, you can barely see the heartwood. But in this piece here, it's quite noticeable. This piece here, it's semi-noticeable. You can kind of see it. But this is all creosote bush. Okay, so you can make foreshafts out of it, but you have to carve it. Sometimes you can find long straight pieces on the branches, but usually you can't. You have to split the trunk. Alright, and these are also used for foreshafts many times, but most of the time when I've seen the creosote bush used as a foreshaft, it's just pointed without an arrowhead, just sharpened to a point, because it's very strong, very dense. Okay, Alright, so there's that. Now, you can find this stuff here, this poverty weed, all along highways in Texas and probably Arizona as well. I just want to show you a sampling because you might not be able to recognize it. If I just showed you this, you'll be looking a long time before you might find it, because the bark is also darker in some cases, like this here. Okay, these are the same plant, believe it or not, taken from the same plant. The one trunk and all these branches, and some of these look different. Okay, these are all branches from the same plant, all of these here. Okay, hopefully you can see that. And this stuff is good for arrows or foreshafts. And the good thing about this stuff is you can straighten it by hand while it's still green. It bends quite a bit. And it can be straightened by hand with a preliminary straightening before you take the bark off. And then you either tie it to something straight or wrap it in a bundle so it'll stay straight until it dries. And it actually dries very hard. So it makes a good foreshaft or a arrow, as long as you can straighten out the wavy areas. You can see, I don't know how crooked that looked before, but it's fairly easy to hand straighten. For preliminary straightening, and then you can use heat later, or you can continue to hand straighten or not even use heat. As long as it's not completely dry, you can bend it by hand without heat. Or of course you can use heat. Okay. So there's that. Okay, so hopefully I covered everything. Just wanted to clear that up because I do get a lot of questions about greasewood. That's what this video is mainly about, is the confusion on greasewood. Hopefully I didn't confuse everybody. Oh yeah, one more thing. These arrowheads here, I looked them up, they're Desert Sierra. Okay, and these are both chert. And these are iron or steel. Okay, and they were used together. The Apaches kept a lot of their old traditions after contact with Europeans. So even though these are in the same set, some of them had stone tips, some of them had steel or iron tips. Okay. It had kind of an unusual way of hafting with the pointed pieces of wood sticking out on the transition. But they use resin usually. This might actually be missing a wrap going across, like this one. This one might be missing that piece, but you can see how it's hafted. Okay, and here's a cross section of the bow. So I'll just take one more shot of this whole page so you can see. There's dimensions for the bow, notes for the bow. And various details. The page is kind of wrinkly, so that the shaft might look straight, but this is a straight shaft, pretty much. This reed. Okay. All right, that's it.